want to talk about another thing that I know we've all experienced, but I don't think we talk enough about, and that's really finding the right mental space to know that your voice deserves to be heard. Your words deserve to be read. And I really want to know for some of you, how do you really fight that imposter syndrome that we all face, but especially when starting your own site?
So a lot of times for me, when I kind of get into that headspace, it's great to kind of to hear from people that have read my work. And, I'm fortunate that I've had people who are disabled who have emailed me from, far-flung places in the world who've said, I've never thought I could be a critic. And then I Googled, disabled critic, and your name came up. And now, I know that I can do this. And I'm like, seriously? Like me? I never aimed to be a trailblazer, like, at all. But it's moments like that where I'm like, okay, the work kind of speaks for itself, and I do deserve to be in this space. But I think when you're starting out and you don't see anybody that looks like you doing this job, I mean, if, when somebody asked me about, who were the critics that you looked to when you started in your career, they were all white guys. I didn't have anybody that looked like me. And even the few women critics that I knew of, they weren't really the ones I wanted to be. And so I think when you're starting out and you don't really see anybody that represents what you look like, what you want to say, it becomes even more of like, okay, well, nobody's ever been able to break out before, so I have no shot in hell of actually doing that. And that's all the more reason to have your voice out there and to do it, because there's a possibility that there's somebody saying that exact same thing, and, you can be that person. So, imposter syndrome hits me a lot, all the time. But I think the bigger thing is kind of to just be like, if you're a good writer, that speaks for itself.
I think too, because I'll absolutely echo the imposter syndrome thing, and I think probably a lot of us would here, but at the same time, we're all here doing this right now because we pushed through that. Even if we deal with it on a daily basis, we took that, and our goal was to overcome it, and we are here as a result. And absolutely, to Kristen's point, you don't have to be an intentional inspiration or trailblazer for somebody, but once you are, everything takes a completely different turn, I think.
I used to think all the time, like, oh yeah, this person writes this way, why can't I write that way? If this person's seen this many movies, why I gotta, like, so behind, I've got so many blind spots. And I still feel that way, but it's also kind of putting it in perspective, right? Of being very comfortable with your strengths, being comfortable with your weaknesses, but realizing those weaknesses can become strengths.
And I think it's really important that we take time to reflect on where we started to help us appreciate where we are today and why we deserve to be where we are today. So the final question that I want to ask all of you is, looking back, what were your aspirations when you first began reviewing? And did you envision that where your career is now, like, did you envision this happening? And Krista, we can start with you.
Sure. I say this at least 2-3 times a week. If 15-year-old Kristen could see me now, she would probably have passed out and died by this point, because the route that my career has taken is something that I could have never anticipated. I mean, criticism was something that I just thought would be a fun way to maybe see free movies. And like, if I could get free movies, maybe some free books, like, I felt like I had accomplished something. Like, that was the high point at the time. Because I was, a poor teenager who didn't want to have to spend all my money on stuff that I did regularly. So that was really kind of what I started with, is that, free movies, free books, and I'm totally happy. And, if younger me could realize that, like, I've talked to amazing celebrities that I love, and I live in LA, and I get to do all these things, like, she probably would not believe it, especially because as a disabled woman, I mean, again, the fact that is something that you don't see, I think, only intensifies that belief of like, well, no one has been in this space that looks like me, so I'm not going to be the one to change that paradigm. So, it's definitely been something where I could never have foreseen that this would be something that I can actually call a career, but it is.
Eric?
So right in my bios, I mentioned like in the first paragraph that I used to watch the Oscars with my mom since I was like 5 years old, and it's basically in my DNA. So to be able to be talking about it at the level that I am now is certainly something I never thought was going to be the case. But even more so, when I started the site, I did 99.999% of everything myself. All the content was me. And I micromanaged it. And it was like, I don't want to lose my voice and my brand. It has to be me, me, me. And it was very, I don't think it was selfish. I just didn't understand how I could share that. And once that happened and I realized that I had power to give people opportunities that did not have it before, I really took that and kind of ran.
Yeah, no, that's a really fun question. And I love hearing other people's trajectories and how they are here today. And for me, I think what I always wanted to do was just a small thing. I just wanted to change the entire, criticism industry. So, I'm still want to do more. I want to have more writers. I want to pay them more. But I am really proud of what I've done the last 5 years, because I started Mediaversity Reviews in the very end of 2016, and it was just me and a friend or two. And I'm trying to get through these different unlocks. Being able to go to the film festivals was an unlock, and that had me meet more people from diverse backgrounds, which is really who I'm trying to lift up. And then having a studio notice Mediaversity and pay a review, in the hundreds, that was a huge unlock for me, and being able to pass that down to the writer. And just exactly what Eric was saying, I think that is what keeps me going. It's so exciting to be able to feel like you're making a difference. So I'm proud of the work, but I definitely am just, I've got a long ways to go still.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to Kristen's point, I was like, if I could see movies for free, it's good enough for me. I mean, like I said, I started my website as kind of just a hobby. I was really passionate about going into book publishing. Which actually, starting the site was actually a blessing in disguise, because then I realized I actually wasn't really that passionate about going into book publishing. So I never really expected that I was going to write beyond my site. I remember when I first got asked to freelance, and I was very, very hesitant about it, because you see stories on Twitter about this outlet hasn't paid me, or this wasn't a great experience, and it's ooh, whoever I write for, I should really trust them. So the first few outlets that I freelanced for were people who I met at festivals, who I thought were oh, this person's cool, and I like their vision. Like Lee, I'm a Mediaversity alumnus. But the idea of writing for the New York Times or the LA Times or IGN or Polygon or any other, Roger Ebert, was never really entered my mind. And so everything that's happened in the last 4 years or so it's been totally unpredictable for me. And so, but it's been a good ride, as Lee said.
Well, look, I want to thank all of you today for participating and really helping inspire the next generation of film critics. Also, too, we'll continue this conversation in a few months. We have a second edition on self-publishing, where we'll focus on topics like networking, hiring contributors for your site, and the transition from self-publishing to freelancing. So until the next time, I hope everyone has a great day, and protect your peace and protect your energy. And we'll see you all soon.